Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can always email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Baiba Kreger. We'll be discussing her wonderful book, My Heritage, My Destiny. Available for purchase through Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com. But people, listen. If you want to gather everything that she has in store, well, do yourself a favor and head directly to her personal site. And that's BaibaHeritageDestiny.com. So it's B-A-I-B-A, traditional spelling of heritage, traditional spelling of destiny.com. There you'll find more information on Baiba herself, more information on this fantastic book, as well as find hyperlinks set up to take you to the purchasing page. So one more time, that's BaibaHeritageDestiny.com. And I will mention that Baiba was brought to our network, People of Distinction, today by some of the best publishers in the business. That's right, people, Stellar Literary Press and Media. So if you or anybody that you know has a book that you'd like moved, give yourself the best gift you could possibly give and move it through Stellar Literary. You can find out more information on them and their fantastic company at stellarliterary.com. So without further ado, let's bring her here on the line with us. Baiba, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you today?
Oh, I'm just fine, and thank you for inviting me.
Of course, absolutely. Listen, the pleasure is all ours, and we're really looking forward to the words of wisdom that we're going to be able to receive from you today. Baiba, we know that immigration is a hot topic right now in the country and really all across the world. There's a lot of civil unrest happening and a lot of political divide, not only here in the States, but in a lot of other countries. And people seeking refuge and asylum in other countries is by no means anything new. So we're really looking forward to your story and how you and your family made that transition. Now, Baiba, before we go into the narrative itself, I want to learn more about you and your background, but not pertaining to the book, more so about you. Please tell us a little bit more about yourself, Baiba.
We wanted to come to America, the land of milk and honey, and we heard about all the wonderful things that's here, especially peace, and how many things are available that were not available to us in Europe. Because of the language barrier, it took me 3 years to finish 4th grade. So it was like, I was like 20 years old when I graduated from high school.
Wow.
But that didn't stop me. Education was very important for me, to me. So I went on, got a master's, and also a doctorate. And I taught school for 32 years in Pennsylvania and in Florida. And I retired after 32 years and came back to Pennsylvania. And that's when I started to write my book, because then I retired and I had time. I spent a year writing it. I had lots of journals that I had kept through years, and that helped me a lot to put things in order and perspective. But my mother had written the first 3 chapters because I didn't know anything about her young life, but she wrote them about herself. And, I tweaked it a little bit, but mostly it's her writing. I did a lot of research on World War II, so that I could put where we were or what we were doing as a family in perspective to what was going on in Europe with the war, because that made a big difference of where we went and what we did. And very often we had no idea what to do, where to go, because people were telling us, don't go there because they're bombing that. That city is very bad, just don't go there. We went there anyway. And that was Heidelberg, and there was nothing happening there.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, the people that came in when we did into Germany, into, you know, Nazi jurisdiction, I guess, they were all refugees. They had no place to live, no place to go, so they put them in the army camps for, you know, for a little while. Those people were all sent to Dresden. But my stepfather had an address in Heidelberg because that's where his brother was in the hospital when he lost his leg in the war. And that's where his sister-in-law was. So we had an address for Heidelberg. He got the paper signed by the Nazis to let us go there. You know what happened to the people in Dresden? Dresden was bombed badly, and an awful lot of people were killed. It's because it was an industrial town.
Mm-hmm.
We went to Heidelberg where one measly little bomb dropped up near a hospital on the hill. And it didn't kill or hurt anybody. So you never know what to do, where to go, but you hope it's the best decision. Then, after the war, we were refugees under the American jurisdiction. So we stayed in American army camps. One was in Mannheim, one was in Schwabisch Gmünd. And from there we got our visas and our paperwork done and took our ship, an army transport ship named General Taylor, to New York City. And there we saw the Grand Lady with the torch. And it sends chills up my back now just thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
We were at the port all day. There wasn't anything to eat. There were no concession stands. We had no money anyway, so that was my first day in America, and I was hungry. But that was only the last day that I was hungry in America. Some of the artists that inspired me a lot were people like Pearl Buck and Harper Lee. Those are books I just loved. Margaret Mitchell, my favorite. Laura Hillenbrand. Sonia Brunel. And A.A. Milne. Those are all people that I read them. I read their stories and kind of identified with their characters for survival and resilience. And I remember having a book in my hand when I was laying there, pretending to be reading, even though I couldn't read. But with my finger, I followed all the words, pretending I was reading it. And I told my mother, I'm reading this book. And she says, do you understand anything you're reading? I said, no. Then why are you reading it? Then in 1949, I was about 9, 10. I put together a little booklet of stories and poems. And from there on, when I was even in middle school, I read all the time. I read one book after another. Some of it was in my native language of Latvian and some were in English. But I enjoyed them all. My heritage comes from my Latvian roots. Latvians are steeped deeply in culture. Education is ranked as very high. So instead of waging war, the Latvians sing songs, and they still do. because we now have the song and dance festivals about every 5 years in Riga, Latvia, that attracts about 600,000 spectators. And I've been there now 5 times, different ones. There's also a dance festival at the same time. There's also a lot of culture in their short poems and epic poems. And they're all preserved under glass so that they don't get destroyed. And there's a library in Riga that is out of this world. I've never seen one quite like it. I wish I could even describe it, but it has several stories high. And the books are like layered, about eight books high, so sometimes you have to get a ladder to get them. Okay, the book cover is a picture of me when I was 6 years old. I liked my little pigtails, and that's how I wore my hair most of the time. Even when I arrived in the United States, I had pigtails and white ribbons in my hair.
Again, we're here on the line with Baiba Kreger. We're discussing her wonderful book, My Heritage, My Destiny. Available for purchase through Amazon as well as barnesandnoble.com, but make sure you're checking into her personal site, BaibaHeritageDestiny.com. You know, Baiba, thank you very much for all of the information that you've relayed so far. Listen, who would you say is your intended audience in writing this book, and what are you hoping to see them take from it?
Anybody from 6th grade on up, so that they would understand what some people go through to get here to this wonderful place called America. And I want them to understand and appreciate this country very much. Even though it looks like there's a lot of unrest, it's still the best country in the world, and I hope they realize that. And this book was a healing for my hurting heart. After I wrote this book, I had more or less healed this hurt in my heart of all the things that I had to go through. And you have to read the book to find out what they were, because I'm not going to just tell you.
There you go.
So, getting through and surviving in desperate times, and we might come to that. We could come to that in this country also. So, you have to be ready, and you have to go with it, and rely on God to help you get through all this.
Baiba, last question here. As we start to close out, what's next for you? Please tell me there's another book on the horizon.
Well, there's already been one other book called the Kreger Family Tree that I put together with another lady who's helping me from the computer going back to 1796 to start, the Kreger family first one that appeared in Liberty. That's where we are right now. And then I've got a book called Copper, which is about my grandson's little dog. And I've got that all done except for the ending. I can't figure out how to end it because the dog dies. I don't know whether children would get upset reading. This is a children's book. So they'd get upset reading it. So I have to maybe talk to different little children and find out how they think it should end. And then my next book is going to be Extreme Classroom. It's going to be like an expose of what goes on in the American modern classroom.
People, listen, if this interview hasn't moved you, pinch yourself. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to say it for you once more, even though I know I don't have to, but let's re-impress it once again. We're here on the line with Baiba Kreger. We just finished discussing her amazing book, My Heritage, My Destiny, available for purchase through Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com. But make sure you're heading over to her personal site, BaibaHeritageDestiny.com, to gather everything that she has in store. Listen, you surely will not be disappointed. The education is real. You're learning directly from her story, her family's experience as they traveled to the United States. Now, this is just one account, but I promise you, there's so much to be gained. There's so much to be learned. All you have to do is head on over to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, BaibaHeritageDestiny.com, and pick up your copies so you can embark upon it. A wonderful book to add to your shelf, an even better gift to add to someone else's. So head on over there and pick it up. Baiba, this has been an absolute pleasure. Such an honor. I truly mean that. Thank you once again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you buy my book.